This person I've known for almost a decade now, probably. He used to hold my son when he was an infant at meetings, and I would get overwhelmed. And I have watched him be a pretty cool base of a lot of people's recovery programs inside and out of these rooms. So with that, I give you Tim M.
Hi, I'm Tim. I'm an alcoholic. Hey, Tim. How y'all doing? Well, when I came down here, I forget, I think it was that lady right there, and another guy said, "Oh, you must be a lead," because I'm not from around here, and you all know each other. So, and I'm kind of the odd man out anywhere I go, and I'm okay with that. But with what I'm going to talk about tonight, I have no idea. When I left the house today, I go, what would I talk about? And then on the way down here, I said, whatever comes out, comes out. But I do have to say in advance, I apologize if I say something in my story that offends anybody. I'm putting a blanket out there. I'm sorry, okay? Because what I say sometimes, a lot of people, I don't know if they don't like it or they've never experienced it or what, but whatever I say is inside me. So I'm not going to talk about a drunk-a-log because I've seen a lot of leads where someone just talks the whole time about how they got drunk and where they got drunk and what they did. I don't do that. I'll talk a little bit about that, but a lot of things that I talk about is recovery. And there's some new people in here, and what I call new is anything under 10 years. So my first AA meetings that I had to go to were when I was in the United States Air Force, and that was in the mid-'80s, okay? My first drink I ever had was in one of these buildings right here. I was an altar boy at the church in Lima, St. Rose, and I got a hold of the communion wine that was in there. Because I asked the priest, like, what's that taste like? Like in a styrofoam glass, he poured me about that much. I drank it, and I went, well, that's pretty good. When he wasn't looking, I poured half a glass. And he still wasn't looking, and I poured 3/4 of a glass. And I don't know if anybody's Catholic or whatever, but I was ringing the bell at the wrong time, and when I'm holding that big Bible up when you're a little kid, holding it up like that, I went down. And when the nuns got done beating the shit out of me, my mom did. So that was my introduction to first time getting drunk. And anything after that, whenever I got in trouble, I was messed up. Real big trouble, not just little stuff growing up, but the big trouble. I was messed up. And then I'm going to fast forward in the military because when I moved to Wetzel from Lima, I used to snitch my old man, my stepdad's beer out of the refrigerator. And I'd get it and I'd run out in the cornfield, as far as you can go. Then I'd drink it down real fast. And when you're a little kid and you get a can of Budweiser down and you're in the middle of a cornfield, it's a hell of a time getting your way out of there. Not just going back the same road, but I ended up like 4 miles away on the other side of the, Route 224. But then I went into the military, and that's when drinking really took off. Once I got out of boot camp, and then I went to my permanent duty place, that's when it really took off. So, through my time in the military, I don't understand how I didn't get kicked out. I got out with an honorable discharge, and how that happened, I'll never know, because I had 3 sets of uniforms. No stripes, 1 stripe, and 2 stripes. And I had them in my locker because I never knew what I was going to be wearing from week to week. And if anybody's been in the military here, if you know what an Article 15 is, I had 2 of them. And that's non-judicial punishment it's like a court-martial without going to court. And I just don't know how I got out of the Air Force without getting a bad, a dishonorable discharge or something, but I got an honorable, which was really cool. But then, 3 months out of the military, I didn't know what shirt I put on when I left. I just grabbed a black shirt, and I don't have a wife, so sometimes my clothes don't match. But I thought maybe black would. So I grabbed this shirt, and it's kind of ironic because 3 months out of the military, just go over here. Just go over here too. I wonder who this is for. But 3 months out of the military, I was at this bar. And when I was in the military, yeah, I was in the Air Force. If anybody wants to give me any crap, do it after. But I was one of the guys in the Air Force that did work. And in my unit, we had the Marines, we had the Navy. It was a construction unit. And, you know, I learned how to fight, believe it or not. And then when I was out, I was at a bar in Findlay. Both bars aren't there anymore. One was a Dutch and the other one was a Walnut. And I ended up getting in a fight at both bars and breaking a nose at one and breaking an arm at another. And then the cops got a hold of me, and I really, you know, they hit me first, but they said I went above than what I should have done, defending myself. So I ended up doing 3 years down at Mansfield State Reformatory. This is Shawshank, you know. Yeah. And I can honestly tell you that going to prison was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. You won't hear too many people saying that. You know, while I was down at Mansfield, you know, I got stabbed, so I had a knife, and instead of fighting someone, I'd cut you quicker than anything. I got how Mansfield stitches you up really sucked. But during that time, I did a couple hole shots, and I was in the same solitary confinement cell Tim Robbins was in the movie Shawshank. And I spent a real 32 days in there one time, and 42 days the next time. And it was from, you know, I'd get drunk, and I'd end up in a couple fights or whatever, and then get busted and all that good stuff, so they threw me in the hole. But being down there in Mansfield, like I said, was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because when I was in the Air Force, I had to do 5 AA meetings. And all I saw in those meetings was a bunch of fat old men sitting around telling war stories. And you know what? I'm one of them now. Because that's all I saw. And then one day, and I normally bring it, but I didn't bring it today. I got a picture of me with my mom and my younger brother that come to visit me. And I got this blue uniform on, a brown beard, like that guy's right there, but his is white. And that day, when my mom went back, when she left and I went back to my cell, I don't know what it was, because the night before I got high and I got drunk while I was there. And when my mom left and I was walking back to my cell, I said to myself, if I'm going to do this crap in here, I'm going to do it when I get out. Because I knew someday I would get out. And right when I decided that, I looked over to the left of me in somebody else's cell, and there was an AA Big Book and a Bible. And I reached in and I stole both of them. And I still have those books to this day. Besides my son, who hasn't called me yet on Father's Day, besides my son, those are my most cherished possessions. Because, you know, I don't know why they were there, and people go, well, haven't you made amends for doing that? I said, no. I was in prison. We were all, you know. so bless you. And I still have those books to this day. And that was the start of my journey that I'm on right now. And that was February 27th of '89. So when I got here, I was a young, dumb punk kid. And when, because I was 22 years old. And when I got home that night, uh, at night I went to a meeting, and I don't know why I was so afraid, but they asked me to sit back from the table because I was spilling everybody's coffee because I was shaking so bad. And it wasn't because I was afraid, because the whole time I was in the joint I was never afraid. But I was sitting at that table and not knowing what I wanted to do, because I didn't have any restrictions. And I could have went to the bars, I could have did all that stuff, but something told me, get your butt to a meeting. That was December 21st of '89. And because when I got paroled, the county mounties from Hancock County came up into the prison, and they said, "Merry Christmas, boy, you want to go home?" I go, "Huh?" And they said, "You don't want to?" I said, "Yeah, I do." But that night, I was at an AA meeting, but I was afraid because I didn't know what I wanted. But I knew with what I had in the past, if I kept doing what I was doing, I was going to keep getting what I was getting. So I tried that AA stuff, and and here I am, I'm just a little young guy in there with them old guys, and and I kept asking questions and asking questions and asking questions. Well, what about this? Well, how do you do this? And he said, "Boy, sit down and listen." So I did, and when you're 22 years old, sorry, when you're 22 years old and you're a guy, what the hell do you think you got on your mind? And I'm thinking, how am I ever going to meet any women by not going to the bars and drinking? Well, believe me, they're everywhere. They're not just at the bars. I picked more women up in the grocery store than I ever did the bar. But just like Charlie Sheen on 2.5 Men. It was awesome. But and doing that, and then I got into motorcycles. I started jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. There was always something, if it was fun and exciting and all this other stuff, I was there. And and then I screwed up, and I met somebody. I'm not saying that's bad, but I met this lady out dancing one night, and I was 4 years sober, 3.5 years sober. I got married when I was 4 years sober, and it was everything I ever wanted. Because when I was growing up and when I was in the joint, I always wanted to be married, have kids, and have a picket fence and all, and I had it. And her dad says, "Don't do it." Her dad says, "Don't do it. It only lasts 6 years." No, Raul, we love each other. Well, you know what? It lasted 6 years. And it just hit me like someone hit me with a bat. Like, what the hell happened? But I'm getting ahead of myself. But that really sucked. But prior to that, 2 years into the program, I'm on a date, and my ex-sister-in-law calls me. And she goes, "You got to get up to Bowling Green because your brother's really ill." But I had to go pick up my other brother. And I get up there, and now granted, I just got out of prison 2 years, and I get up to the hospital, and I'm looking for my brother Sean, and they said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for my brother Mike." "Mike who?" I said, "Mike Murphy." I give him my last name, sorry. But "Follow me, sir." So they take me and my brother back into this office, and they tell me that my brother passed away in a work accident. And they opened the doors, they took me and Sean in there, and I saw my brother laying on a table with a sheet up to his neck here. And the first words out of my mouth were, "Why him? Why not me?" Because he was a school teacher for handicapped children, and he was working on, Christmas break. And they knew about gas. My mom found out later on they knew about gases in the area, and that's what came up and burned his lungs up. and he basically drowned on land. But the first words out of my mouth were, why him, why not me? Because I was the bad guy. I was the one who went to jail. And he was a good guy. And right then, the spirituality that I did have, because step 3, when you're in here, you got to have a higher power. 2 and 3. Come to believe the power of greater in ourselves, Christos Sanity, and then made a decision. Well, that higher power I came in with, right out the door. Because anybody, because I believed in a loving and caring God. Why did he do this? And then for the next, and that was pretty cool what he read about the group being a higher power, because that's what happened to me for the next 9 years. The group of Alcoholics Anonymous became my higher power. Because one person tells me something normal, I go tell them pound salt. Or 2, 3, or 14 people tell me the same thing. Maybe that is a higher power talking to me. So that's, and I do have a higher power to this day, but I still rely on the power of Alcoholics Anonymous and the people to give me if I have trouble, give me the right answer. And most of the time it's right. When I do it, I'll screw it up, no problem. But that happened, and it took me a long time to get over that fact that why him, why not me? Because I've been shot, I've been stabbed twice, and then I'm still here, so that was, then I get to the point where I said, you know what? It happened, I got to deal with it, because they're always saying acceptance. Sometimes I think they can shove it, but in the end, if you don't accept it, it's just going to eat you up. So then I found Tammy, and then I got married. And I was in an AA meeting in my tux. I walked across the street to the church, got married, and it was great for the first year. And then after that, I'm scratching my head going, what happened? But I tried to make it work, and I beat myself up trying to figure out what happened. But that's where that acceptance came in again, So a lot of things were happening in my life. I came in at a young age, and, I got married, I got married, I got divorced. And when I was going through my divorce, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one ever going through a divorce. But then I looked around the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and 75% of the people have been divorced, and the other 25 have been married 3 or 4 times. So I knew that I had something to pick from. And I relied on the guys again. And it was a while before, I got through that. And then it's just one thing after another, and all the joys and I've had a lot of bad things, and I've had a lot of good things happening. Through that marriage, I got my son, and that's all, and then, like I said, the little shithead hasn't called me yet for Father's Day, so that's kind of a burn in my butt right now, but I'm sure he'll call me tomorrow. So, I forgot, Dad. And I'll be okay. That's okay, son. But the thing is, I got to watch him grow up, and, I hate to say it, my ex-wife, she passed away here not too long ago, but she was on her 5th husband when that happened. So it took me a while. It probably wasn't me. That was just my first one. I thought I saw my 5th wife the other day, but I've only been married once, so I got plenty of time. So, but when all that was going on, I still had you people, and that was cool. But then life was happening, things were going on, and it just I can't. There were times when I got to the point where I'm going, is this being in the program, is that all there is? And then, it got to the point where I learned you have to have an open mind about stuff. Because not everything is textbook, and not everything is the way it was for you, the way it is for you, or him, or that guy. But the thing is, I've grown up in this program. A lot of people say I haven't, but I've gotten older in this program. And I just hit, well, a couple months ago, I hit 36 years. And the only reason I have 36 years in the program is because I didn't drink and I didn't die yet. Because life is really freaking good. Why would I drive 91 miles to come here and stand up and talk to people I've never seen? I know her, but I didn't know any of you. Because I was told in the beginning, if you're asked to do something, do it. I called my sponsor and said, hey, George, he's from this area. Is George Billerman. That's my sponsor. He says, so he's from this area. So if you know any Billermans, he's probably related to him over here. He grew up in Coldwater. But, because he said, oh, you're in my neck of the woods tonight. I said, yes, I am. And George Billerman was at my very first AA meeting when I got out of prison. And he's my sponsor today. I don't care how long someone's been around here, you always need a guide, you always need help. Because I don't have all the right answers. And I see the new people, I see young, no, I shouldn't say new, I see younger than me in here, which are not too many of them. Sorry. But, in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous has given me a life worth living. I've had so much stuff happen to me in life, and this place right here, okay, Mansfield. I got out of the joint. 4 years after I was out of the joint, I'm hauling dynamite, blowing stuff up. Okay? Somebody didn't do a background check. Because on the application I put NA. So having a felony conviction would probably just, you don't get this job. So somebody didn't do the background. So I'm hauling dynamite, blowing stuff blowing it up everywhere. And I got this job, I was down in Dayton, I come back and it said Murphy, Mansfield. I went, ooh. And it was to blow up the hill and the existing wall that was still standing in Mansfield. And every time I'm stemming a hole with stone, I'm looking at that place, just like, ugh. And then when I hit that button, it was like, God, it was awesome. And then fast forward a few more years, I took my son down there to show him what could happen if you ever screwed up. And everybody on the tour was listening to me more than they were the tour guide. So someone came to me afterwards and said, hey, how would you like to be a tour guide down here since you're an ex-inmate? And I'm going, no, but I didn't say it that way. And my son said, do it, Dad, do it. So I did it for 2 years. I was a tour guide down there at the prison I was at until I started dreaming about the place. And my boy says, Dad, you're getting mean. I says, okay, I'm done. So it's kind of weird. And that was when my son was young, and now he's 26, 27. And they asked me to come back and give inmate tours, and I'm going, I don't know. I still haven't made my mind up. But when I was down there, I got into this weird stuff called ghost hunting, okay? And I'm one of them weirdos, nerds that get into this ghost hunting stuff. And you know what? It's fun. It's awesome. And in that ghost hunting stuff, I have been to Ireland, I've been to England, I've been to Nova Scotia, I've been all over the place. And you know what? No matter where I go, I always hit a meeting. I do. I love it. I'm going, I just got back from California with San Diego. My aunt she lived in Coronado. I don't know if anybody's been to San Diego, but Coronado is like, you drive down the road, you got Lamborghinis, you got Rolls Royces, you got just all these fancy cars. It's a little rich, super rich out there. And my aunt lived out there. And all she had was a Mercedes, like the Chevette of the, fancy car world. And I would go out and visit her, and she said I was the only one that she wanted out of me and my brothers, I was the only one that was invited out there. And I said, well, why? Why is that? She goes, you don't drink. Because drinking, I'm a Murphy, but the Murphy married a Finn, so it's all Irish on both sides. And if you were in my mother's family, if you got a DUI, it was a rite of passage, and it was no big deal if you got a DUI. is a pat on the back. But because I went to where I ended up, my uncle, they disowned me in the family. And it's because, you know, I didn't get a DUI. So my aunt accepted me for who I was and that I was sober. And I was welcomed out there. And I just got back the end of April from California. She gave me her Mercedes, which to me it's like nice. You know, and I drove it back, and then I got back on a Wednesday and she died on a Sunday. So she got cremated, and then they UPS'd her back to me, and because she wanted to be buried in Lima at the family plot. So I gave her one last ride in the Mercedes, and I took her to Lima and buried her ashes. But you know what the program of Alcoholics Anonymous has done for me, from getting out of the joint, I couldn't borrow a shovel to dig a hole to lie down in. I'm invited in California. I'm invited to stay in Ireland. I have my house. I have too much stuff. Like George Carlin said, stuff. But, you know, from getting out and being where I'm at now in life, you know, when I met her, I was doing meetings up in Bowling Green. You know, I live in Findlay. It's a half-hour north. You know, and there was a guy in Bowling Green, and he told me, if you go to the same meetings all the time, you hear the same people, you know what they're going to say, you know how they're going to say it, it's inbred. Yeah. You know, you're keeping it in the family. So that's why I get out and I go all over, wherever I'm out ghost hunting or screwing around, I always hit a meeting wherever I'm at. And I've made the bestest friends all over the place. And in 2017, I was down at Founders Day, and these 4 guys came down and asked me, hey, can you take our picture? And I said, yeah. I go, where are you from? They said, Ireland. I said, cool. And I said, you guys sound funny. Where are you from? They said, Ireland. And they asked me my name, and I said, oh, you're one of us. And I go, yeah, I guess I am. And they go, oh, you're a plastic patty. That's what they call us. Irish people here in America, they call us plastic patties. They're not really, really Irish. So, and then I went back to Dr. Bob's, and there they were. And we got to talking some more, and we got to be friends on Facebook, on Messenger, and all that stuff. And then the pandemic hit. And I was doing meetings everywhere on Zoom. I mean, Ireland, of course, Japan, Russia, everywhere. And it was cool. And I still do a Zoom meeting out of Ireland most every day. It's at 3 o'clock. It's 8:30 their time, so it's 3:30 mine. And then when the pandemic got up, they said, get your ass over here. And since the pandemic has been over, when I leave in the end of September, this will make my 10th time in Ireland. I've been there so many times that I know it. I actually bought a car, and it stays at my buddy's house. And so when I go over there, I'll be over there for 6 weeks, and I'm basically going to be homeless, because I'm going to be going, I'm just going to sleep in my car. Because when I'm there, I work on a cattle farm, and when I'm not there, I'm not screwing around. See, Alcoholics Anonymous has given me a family all over the place. I get to hang out in Ireland. I'm going to go to Ireland, and then I'm going to go over to England, and I'm going to drive down to the tunnel to get into France, and I'm going to work my way down to Sighisoara, Romania, which is Transylvania. And I'm going to walk the 2,000 steps up to Dracula's castle. To you guys, it's nothing to me, but it's like, I'm going to do it. Because it's given me, Alcoholics Anonymous has given me a life where I enjoy my life. Sure, sometimes it sucks, but it doesn't suck as long because I'm sober. You know, my little nephew, my brother Sean is his grandfather, but he doesn't do anything with him. He didn't do anything with his daughter, so I hang out with him and we go fishing, and and he keeps saying, Uncle Tim, this is gooder than anything. So I adopted that word, gooder, because everything does keep getting gooder. The longer I've been around here, hell, I thought when I got here, I was 22 years old, and I look at someone that was in their 50s then, I say, God, that guy's old.
Yeah, I got 22.
And, and I'm glad I got to be one of the fat old men. When I came in here, I had a full head of hair and a 6-pack. Now I have no hair and a pony keg. So I guess life has gotten gooder because, you know, and when I got a message from her on Messenger, I'm like, what the hell does she want? You know, I go, I haven't talked to her in years, and like going to Facebook, there's no messages, like we haven't communicated, and then I called her back and I said, what do you want? And she told me, and I said I'd be honored to do it, because that's one thing that this program has shown me. When someone reaches out for a hand, I want that hand always to be there, and for that I'm responsible. With that, I'm going to shut up.
All right, thanks,
Thanks, Tim. Not to make you feel old, but I was a year old when we got sober.
Shut up.
And, I first came into the rooms when I was in my very early 20s, and I remember like looking around at all the people that were quite a bit older than me and being like, man, if I get this right, like I have my whole life, I've got so much time left. But I think that also became a little bit of a problem because I was still young, so then I felt like I still got time, But even though I'm not in my 20s anymore and I'm almost not in my 30s, I like hearing when people share about how great their life has gotten and like that you still get to do all these awesome things. I hope I still have that much energy. I don't think I could walk 2,000 steps right now up the staircase, but I will open it up for comments.
My name's Tom, alcoholic. I got here when I was 22, and I stayed sober. I had a drink after I turned 23. But it's the same, I'm going to celebrate 36 years in October. So we got about the same time. And I'm telling you, I've heard so many leads from people that have done time that it's just great. There's a lot around here, and they're the best leads I can hear. And I know, got another one. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom. I'm Jared, alcoholic.
Jared.
I just want to say thanks for the lead. For me, being in prison was a big eye opener, and I learned a lot in there. That's kind of when I started up. My biggest regret is I never went to an AA meeting in the joint. I got around with a crowd that were getting papers and books and had a class on trying to save the world. And inmates that were doing life and everything, trying to fix the problems out here in the real world while they're locked away and everything. And yeah, that's one of my biggest mistakes, was not going to AA meeting in prison. And that's where I learned through the jails with the Bible and all that. So it was good to hear that story and stuff. I say that to a lot of people. Sometimes people think I'm crazy. I'm like, some of the best times I had throughout my life was in prison. But I was sober in prison too. I haven't been sober out here, so my life's been trying to flip-flop that around. Until I got back in these rooms. I got about 5 months, and I was out of 3.5 years and then relapse. So yeah, I'm glad you came, and thanks for your lead tonight.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, Jared.
I'm Andrew, recovering alcoholic. I want to thank you for coming over and sharing with us, and I just appreciate your lead. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew.
Non-alcoholic.
And Don.
Thanks for the good lead. It brought memory back to me, so I've been down in rooms and I ain't going to go back. So thanks a lot.
Thanks, Don.
Ted, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Ted.
Tim, thanks for your lead. Thanks for taking the time out of your life and driving the distance to come and share with us. I appreciate it. And I hope I doubt that I'll live long enough to see, 35 years? 36 years, but anyways, I'll try. So, thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Hi, I'm Fred, I'm an alcoholic.
Fred.
Awesome lead. I relate to it a lot because I'm ex-military too. Never went to prison, but I did time in county jail, so thanks for your lead.
Thanks, Fred.
opinion anymore. So, I loved all the ways that, you talked about the gifts this program's given you and just the crazy twists and turns that our life can take. Different jobs and different places we live and, friends that we make. And I try not to, I think it's just the most tangible way for me sometimes to see like material things, but, I try to focus on the spiritual stuff too. But for us, it's like, I don't know, like, so I always am reminded, when you work the steps with somebody and you talk about that, what do you want your life to look like in a year from now, 5 years from now? Like, to think of the ways that we shortchange ourselves, it's just stuff that I couldn't have even dreamed. Because you've ever dreamed you'd have been given tours of the prison that you were in or blowing the wall off, like, just the crazy stories that we hear in here, and it just reminds me that there is a collective higher power that's orchestrated all of this. And as long as I sit right here in the middle of it, like I'm in the middle of the miracle every day. And I was just thinking today, I was practicing, my sponsor says, if you change the way you look at things, things change the way they look. And so I was like starting to look at things a little funny today, and I was like, wait a minute, we were split up, like with our kids in different towns, they're playing ball, they love to play ball, and it's Father's Day, and I get home, and it's not a huge deal, like my husband works for himself, I was able to stay home, we had this surprise baby after we thought we were done. So he's a year old, and I've been able to be home since he's been born, and I was able to homeschool older kids last year, just a life that I would have never imagined. And so it brings different challenges, of course, because I'm like, oh my God, who am I if I don't have a career, and I don't have, so I'm kind of in this crisis. I was talking about it with my mom, and I just started saying, oh my God, who would have guessed when I got sober, my kids were in foster care. He was in prison. Our marriage was a dumpster fire. Like, it would have been better for both of us to just forget we existed and to, like, live the life that we're living today. And it's just because we sit here in this seat and do the work and do like you do. And people think that we're strange, like to drive 91 miles. Only we understand that, the reward that it is. That it's awesome. It's a privilege to be asked to drive 91 hours. Like, wow, or 91 miles. 91 hours would be kind of a lot. But I'd still do it, probably for AA. So yeah, I was just really intrigued by your story all the way around, and I can so relate with just the really cool twists and turns and miracles, a series of them that this program gives. So anyway, thanks for coming to see us and keep carrying the message. Appreciate you, thanks.
Hey, Katie.
My name's Jason, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Jason.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking how I'm thankful that I was almost fully inbred, and you decided to come and share your story tonight. It's been a while since I've heard somebody from somewhere else, but that is true, and sometimes I get so, just, you go to the same meetings and the same people, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it is nice to hear somebody else's voice, and to meet somebody new, to make a new friend, and I just think it's so cool how, because usually we know who's giving the lead. Well, we don't, usually when we show up, even if we don't know who's going to give the lead, we know who's giving the lead when they're giving it. And so tonight, that was different. And I had a trip or two to prison, and it was probably the best thing that happened to me as well. The first time, not so much. I wasn't really ready to change anything. And the second time, I was still a little undecided, but eventually I kind of made a decision that I wanted to do something different because I was just going to keep ending up in there if I didn't do something different. And so I was able to get sober in there. I had a little relapse once I got out of prison, and then I got serious about AA, and saved my life. And I like how you shared. I grew up going to Catholic school, but I never got the privilege of being an altar boy. I think they knew already that I was an alcoholic. Maybe they didn't. But I could really relate with that. Like, a little bit makes me feel good. I want more. I was trying two. Two makes me feel good. We might go for 4. And so that was a good visual to see you get slapped around by the nuns and moms. And I enjoyed your lead, and thanks for helping me stay sober.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jason.
Jason.
I'm Joni, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Joni.
think you're a true example of a fellowship will grow up around you. And that's what I find. And I feel like this place is my family, and you can go anywhere and you feel like you're with your family, even though you don't know the people. And I love hearing other people's leads and other people's stories too. And I'm grateful for Zoom. I'm in a couple 12-step programs. So I would say I'm addicted to the 12 steps. But I get to hear a lot of different ideas and a lot of different things from people, and I always like that. Always like hearing people's stories and their twists, and you have a great one. And I can tell that you don't just talk the talk, but you walk the walk. And I appreciate your honesty, because on the back of our coins it says, to thy own self be true. And if I can't be true to myself, then I really can't be true to anyone. So I'm grateful you came 91 miles to Fort Recovery, Ohio. And by the way, I am from Coldwater, and my neighbor was a Bellarmine, and I'm related to the Bellarmines and the Deuces around there. Everyone's kind of related in this area. But my best friend, my childhood friend, is a Bellarmine. So, and George was her grandpa's name, and he lived, but I'm sure it's not the same. But anyways, he's dead. So. Yeah, with that, I'll pass. Thanks.
Jim and I'll talk. Jim, good to meet you. Thanks for driving all the way down with your story. Active addiction kills our dreams. It's nice to see when they come back. Sometimes we get new dreams. But thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
Since your son didn't tell you Happy Father's Day, I will. I can hear from my oldest stepson again today, and I don't know if I will or not. But he's usually pretty good about it, but he hasn't contacted me. So to any fathers who haven't heard from their children today, I'm going to say Happy Father's Day.
Thanks. You too. Kevin, I'm an alcoholic.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You know, that was pretty good lead, and you know, I think what I like the most about it is that, you know, we all had to do what we had to do to get here. You know, I went to my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting in 1982, but as you can see, I haven't been sober that long. And yeah, but I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't done. And you know, and I stayed right out there. I hung in there just as long as I could hang in there. And you know, it got to the point where I knew that I had to do something different. You know, I wanted to do something different. And so, you know, that was wonderful, you know, what you had to do to the opportunity that you had to go overseas in other countries and experience Alcoholics Anonymous. And the thing is, some of the language may be a little different, but the disease is the same, no matter where you go. And I'm a person also, I don't mind jumping in the car and making a road trip. And, yeah, and that's, I used to do, and I still do quite a few, fair amount in Indiana. And, you know, and I love that because today I can sit here and say, wow, I got friends in this town over here, and I got friends down here in Dayton, and I've got friends here. And, you know, it's a fellowship that we can all relate to each other. They said, Big Book says we would not mix, but when we get sober, we're a fellowship. And, you know, we're friends. And, you know, and that's just one of the great joys of Alcoholics Anonymous. So thanks for coming down, and thanks for a good lead. And just we'll cross again. And the other thing is, I don't today, but I knew some Bellarmines, and
they didn't have the opportunity to find these rooms. I think they all could have used them, but, they didn't have the opportunity, or they didn't find these rooms. I don't know if they had the opportunity or not, but, they didn't, so, but, you know, that's just the way it works sometimes. So, thanks for a good lead.
Wayne Alcoholic.
Wayne.
I want to thank you for your lead out. I really liked your statement at the end of once you put your hand out, you want a hand to be there. And that's what this program does offer. Fellowship, a listening ear, a hand to hold. I want to thank you for your lead.
Thanks, Wayne.
My name's Wes, almost like I'm trying to be last or next to last, I'm not sure. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate the driving down here, and you have a good story, and I appreciated that, you know, it wasn't a drunk log, it was, how did I get by after I got sober, what did I learn? You know, how long did it take me to quit being stupid? It took me a long time to quit being stupid. A very long time. But, you know, I admire that you got in early. I was so smart, I managed to be a functional alcoholic and not get caught from 35, for 20 years, from 35 to 55. That wasn't the end of it though. And by the time I got to be 70, I thought, well, what the hell? And I'm back out. When I come back and I do it again, yeah, 7 times. Till I came in October 21. So life has gotten better since then, as your life has gotten better. Not that you don't have problems, not that I don't have problems, but no place to go. You know, some days that's all I'm ready to do. So, thanks, and I'll pass.
Thanks,
Thanks, Wes.
Thank you, everybody, for a good meeting. I'm gonna circle up over here.
Look at it tonight. Are you gonna bring that one up tonight?
Yeah, it'll be on tonight. It'll be up before we know.
All right. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. You come back, work for your work. I got a fentanyl marathon.
Excuse me, I think you're trying to canoe. Can I make you laugh?
Marathon was one of my favorites.
So I ain't been in meetings right down there.
I just learned the hard way how to make it as well meetings.
I love, like I said, I love
But I've been eating all day because
all the way from,
Lenny
I was
was.
talking to Mike Iron on the phone. Hey, nice to see you. Oh, yeah, I said, "Come on, kid, 4:30."
Miles to get here.
What told you home?
Welcome to Fort Recovery. You got internet on your phone?
I don't think I was sitting down.
I'll give you the address, it'll be on Later.
What are you doing? Okay, should we Father's Day?
Yeah, we're good. This is good pizza.
Every week.
They get treated like a king there, so. This is okay.
Yeah, that was good. Pushes the dry, I thought. You all parties back together? Yours? No, like most of you left.
Better have one extra one.
Yeah. Well, this was.
Hey, Joe.
Important.
Kevin got his toys,
Kevin got his token.
but I think he wants somebody to give it to him here. He got it over at Fort McCoven, or
He did.
well, he just went and got one out of the set.
Wow.
He told him what he did. I think he expects somebody to give it to him here.
He's,
I just thought I'd let you know.
he's fired. Why are you putting our new ones away?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good.
We were missing some.
Got it all put together, and had these 2 bags of hardware.
Now we got them all.
Had more hardware left than what we used. I'm like, man, what?
We got a lot of that.
Screws and bolts, and then I got to reading, and then it says, well, some models, you have to bolt the brackets on and all that kind of stuff. Some of them come with them already done. So I guess they just give you the same bag of hardware for whatever you.
What was this for?
Oh, I didn't see
Yeah,
it.
was it a storage or?
No, it was in an old barn. No, it was basically working on. And I tell you what, ain't this wood, I thought I had a lot of stuff. I will have nothing compared to this. It's probably, the main one is probably 30 by 60 long, and then it's got like a lean-to built to it, which is probably just about the same size. And the whole thing is just packed.
Probably knows right where everything's at.
No, I think she has no idea.
Some people.
I think she doesn't have the slightest idea.
How was your drive?
All right. Uneventful?
That's a good thing.
Andrew, that there.
I came back, I had to,
Sure, what's all that cake and stuff.
On Michigan.
They don't do that good.
Last time I was there,
Sometimes it does.
when I was
I
coming
just
home,
take a chance.
we were on the highway, it's 3-lane highway, and
But
I
I
was on
went
the
to
middle
the
lane.
social
And I'm thinking,
program.
how those geese are like flying right along the road, like, and if one of them didn't just fly straight down and land right in the front.
You did it?
Hell yeah, it
There
was
you
like
go.
no choice,
And had
none.
celebration and life.
I was like, I'm gonna get this down.
Well, we was down in the middle.
Okay,
Ah.
sounds good. See you.
We left.
Hi, Al.
And then down in.
Take them in, give her a handful.
A little after I guess about 12:30.
Good deal. You like on the offer like that, I care, or I won't be there.
everybody said they're drinking and everything.
Doesn't matter.
Hey, if you
Doesn't
drill,
matter.
fall,
There's
there's
no
no
much
anything wrong with
in
you.
here.
That's all right, I know what it's all for.
Fred.
Nice shirt, Fred.
Thank you. Find one that,
Extra.
with the red numbers on it?
He had this one.
Oh, okay. I went through that,
Yeah.
tried it and seen
I was,
like
well, to be real honest,
I got him.
when I ordered that, I thought I was ordering one for
got 'em.
23 on it, and it came with like.
How you doing?
Pretty good, how about you?
All right.
Good to see you.
had to eat a bunch of the wire
But-
and get it in the store and all. Yeah, so I went, when I was at Coldwater, and I just went through, got the thing, picked one out of there.
That many people that show up.
Box and
Sometimes we all eat.
Good night, man.
We will eat.
I'll do one through there.
Yeah.
I'll have them there. He's with Brandon's brother, Cody.
you do, I just need a, I know I know he's trying to find something. I think that they should do it.
Okay, so I got in trouble in Stillwater.
Get some of this stuff. Did you get some?
Oh, what is it?
Berries and taste and cream. Nice. Strawberries, blueberries.
Raspberries, blackberries.
Well, let's,
Yeah, I already had that today, but I'll eat it again.
you'll love it.
All the berries that you can have. Very, very, very.
It always,
I did.
for some reason or the other, it kinda always seems to rain one night or the other.
They have a rain gauge on, yes, they're reaching by.
We're not asking for it.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I started that like 2 years ago.
But yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
No. I'll stand down when it comes to that type of.
Now, yeah, so I was, when I was working at Focus,
I heard you
I
were.
had five electricians.
After inaugurated, I guess.
No. Well,
Experience.
we moved to Lakeview, and then
God,
I was in Mercer County Jail for like 2
are you not, you were at
months.
Coldwater? Pardon me?
And, I met,
Another guy.
no, I met some ladies that came to the jail meeting, and I was in jail when I got out.
Concert of the St. Mary Area Community Band.
We all determined that leaving and was not leaving my whole thing, but I never told them.
Well, they were able to
Got me, so
play
that's
that. Well, they're
Because
good.
I'm on prison right now.
For a reason, I can see that, bring a lawn chair or a blanket, and we're gonna play outside. But then, when he was in my school,
Yeah,
but they didn't
I
even
have to,
know they were auditorium. I
learn
don't
a
know
couple
why.
more lessons the hard way.
That'd be a question. They played in the cafeteria. The acoustics were pretty good. How's your day?
Wonderful.
Boy, you get this far.
Even better now that I have
But
all the stuff.
they had
For
a.
now. So we gotta start reclaiming.
Yo.
You planning on doing something?
Yeah.
We got,
Well, I hadn't been told to shut up.
8 farms we gotta reclaim.
It's coming.
We've been able to.
Done, all the rain got.
Jim's got that. Well, he hasn't connected yet.
And other than that, all the rest of it's still gonna be.
I just want to read something for me.
You got 8 different areas. We got
Hey, look who's in charge.
I'm just doing as I'm told.
You gotta go with
I will do it in both.
Rachel.
I thought
I
you might
told
want
her,
to check.
best way to do that, instead of reclaiming that, thing, just tear the whole damn fill up and start all over again. Which is, we tried. Then the,
Are you one for me?
read that.
You want to read it for
No, man. I was born in Lima, grew up most of my life.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Huh?
In a little town called West. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Western Western, heck yeah, I've been there.
I lived there, I moved away when I was a senior in high school, and that's what I call home. Because all the guys that I went to school with started that motorcycle club.
Swap meets party.
Yes, I'm the only sober son of a bitch there.
How you doing?
I stopped going when they let the Aryan Brotherhood in, and all the hate groups started coming in, that's when I stopped going. That's good, if people are into it, I'm just not into it, so I just don't go anymore.
Yeah, I'll pass it.
Had fun, it was fun, you know, a bunch of guys get together, you know, but then all the other chicks and that stuff. But then I went to Finley and then came back from the Air Force, got, you'll hear that, but I'm in Finley right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of buddies called it Armington, we have a big Armington.
Yeah.
Got this one over there, got her out once a year.
Yeah, but I used to drive, I still drive the bus over there. We all went to Lincolnville, we bought a bus from Lincolnville. And, I still drive it out there for when I have to go. But it's an old bus from the '70s. And it had, yeah, and it said much land from all the way back when it started, painted on it with a flat top because that's where we'd sit.
If I didn't go
But,
up there, I know.
it has 1994 plates
If
on
I
it,
didn't go up
Hawaii.
there, I know what would happen, right?
But I still drive around.
Yeah, thank you for choosing Green Forest Call.com. Your helping people rest. You can. That's why I told her.
If you are the host, press 1 now. Otherwise, please wait and you will be joined into the conference.
One thing to get around some of these people, and some people, you know, they think you expect it.
Hello, you had Nitty here.
The other three said.
Hi there, Sharon here.
So is this a hybrid group or?
You know, there's maybe 2, 3 people that call it.
It's all good.
They've got it.
You can have one you want, yeah, that's the one that ain't too bad, but getting that south tester wheel too, then you got trouble.
Yeah, damn girl.
They're still warm. That's where you stop there. I called Ruben and was something 15 years back.
Over 50% chance of rain. Every hour until about
Just
8
set me back 15 years.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jen and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Jen.
Would those who care to join me in a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer? God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I've asked a friend to read how it works.
My name's Tom, I'm an alcoholic. This is how it works. Rarely we see a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover, excuse me, those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates, they're not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They're naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional mental disorders. but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we're like now. If you decide you want what we have and are willing to do anything to get it, then you're ready to pay service tax. That's something we bought. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. We thought the earnestness at our command, we beg you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us try to hold on to old ideas, and there's always nil until we let go absolutely. Remember how we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, and powerful. Without help it is too much for us, but there is one who has all power, and that one is God, and may you find him there. Half measure availed us nothing. We stood the turning point, we asked his protection and care of complete abandonment. Here are the steps we took, which were suggested as a program of recovery. One, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, our lives had become unmanageable. Two, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Three, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood it. Four, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Five, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrong. Six, we're entirely ready to have God remove all his defects of character. Seven, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Eight, we made a list of all persons we'd harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, we directed them to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continue to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, probably made. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only from knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as all these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles on our parents. Many of us exclaim, what an order, I can't go through it. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We're not saints. The point is that we're going to grow on spiritual minds. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, chapter 2 Gnostics, our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 permanent ideas. A, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could relieve our alcoholism. And C, that God could move it.
Thanks, Tom.
Clean alcoholic, DAA promises. We are painstaking about this phase of our development. We will be at age before we are halfway through. 2, we are going to know new freedom and a new happiness. 3, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. 4, we will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. 5, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. 6, that feeling of useless
Thanks, Ray.
Friends, your lead 24 hours.
I'm Andrew, recovering alcoholic. June 15th, AA Talk for a Day. In AA, we have three things following: fellowship, faith, and service. Fellowship is wonderful, but it's one that lets us just so long. Then some gossip, disillusionment, and boredom may come in. Worry and fear come back at times, and we find that fellowship is not the whole story. Then we need faith. When we're alone with nobody to pat us on the back, we just turn to God for help. Can I say they will be done, that will be done in minute meditation for the day. There is beauty in a God-guided life. There is wonder in the feeling of being led by God. Try to realize God's bounty and goodness more and more. God is planning for you wonderful are His ways. They are beyond your knowledge. But God's leading will either enter your consciousness more and more and bring you near ever more with peace and joy. Your life is being planned and blessed by God. You may count all material things as lost if they prevent your winning your way to the consequences of God's guidance. Prayer today. I pray that I may earn the reward of God's power and peace. I pray that I may develop the feeling of being led by God.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Andrew.
Ask your friend to read until season.
My name is Wes, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Wes.
Vision beyond today. That's what I picked, I didn't recognize that when I opened the page. Vision is, I think, the ability to make good estimates, both for the immediate and for the more distant future. Some might feel this sort of striving to be heresy against our one day at a time. But that valuable principle really refers to our mental and emotional lives and means chiefly that we are not foolishly to be puzzling over the past, nor wishfully to daydream about the future. As individuals and as a fellowship, we shall surely suffer if we cast the whole job of planning for tomorrow onto the bad idea of providence. God's real providence has endowed us human beings with a considerable capability for foresight, and He evidently expects us to use it. Of course, we shall often miscalculate the future, in whole or in part, but that is better than to refuse to think at all. That's all.
Thanks, Bud.
Thanks, Wes. That was good.
And did you, it's Friday,
Hey, I'm Jody, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Jody.
Tokens at this meeting, would anybody be interested in a 24-hour token? How about 1 to 6 months?
All right.
4, hey, we got you, buddy.
How long you got? 4 months, cool.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
I gotta go with this, gotta go with this.
You gotta go.
Four. Oh, wow.
Pretty.
Four, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're not gonna lose that, baby. We'll do that. I'll show you the way. All right. How about 7 to 11 months? 1 year. 18 months. Let's see, 2 years to 22 years. 24 up. Okay, well, oh.
Oh, you kinda left something out there, didn't you?
Who's underneath there?
I'm
How
Kevin.
about 23?
All right.
I'm Kevin, I'm an alcoholic. On the 10th, I had 23 years.
All right, well, if you have not had a drink or a drug today, give yourself and your higher power a hand.
I'm gonna send that around. Everybody put a little good luck on it if you will.
Alrighty.
Alright, we have literature and all that at cost, and are there any announcements?
23. Joni, I'm an alcoholic. Isn't our announcement up there? We didn't leave one here. We didn't leave one here. Okay, yeah, Pine Lake, it is July the 12th, Saturday, starts at noon. Welcome to come at 10, that's when the park opens. And we usually meet right outside the gates there. You don't have to go in and pay. You just want to enjoy food and fellowship. We're gonna, the Core Recovery Group will have brats, hot dogs, and hamburgers, buns, and the condiments. You're asked to bring a food item to share. It is $8 if you are under the age of 9, and it is $10 if you're 10 and above. Yeah. And then, yeah, and if you might want to bring a lunch here, if you want, and I think you, family and friends are welcome. And I think that's it for that announcement. Thanks.
Thanks, Jimmy.
I'm Kevin, I'm an alcoholic. And I'm not sure on all these dates, if anybody can help me out. I think there's going to be a district picnic August 16th, maybe?
I thought it was September. Yeah, I think it might be September.
Oh, September 16th, okay. And then there's a Indian Lake anniversary, and I think that's August. Anybody know that date? Well, we'll get some more information on it.
They're coming up though.
So, yeah, that's all I got.
For our group, I think is going, is the 6th of October, I believe.
There it is.
And district is September, sometime it's gonna be around St. Mary's, someplace, the base of
St. Mary's got the KC guys, we've had it there the past few years.
Putter golf and cookout or something.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thanks, guys.
Also bring frisbee, the disc golf course.
Alright, according to our 7th tradition, we are self-supporting through our own contributions. We're gonna pass the basket around. And we will go around and introduce ourselves. My name's Jen, I'm an alcoholic.
Again.
Tim, my dog.
Jim.
Jim, I'm not calling.
Jim, hey, I'm Joni, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Jimmy.
I'm not all.
Yeah.
Kevin, I'm not for
Kevin.
My name is Wes, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Wes.
My name's
Katie.
Non-alcoholic.
John.
Andrew, recovering alcoholic.
Andrew.
Jared, alcoholic.
I'm Tom, alcoholic.
I'm Brenda, I'm an alcoholic.
Do we have anybody on the phone?
I'm Sharon, recovering alcoholic,
Hey Sharon.
still alcoholic.
Hey Jill.
Alright, and that brings us to the meat and potatoes of our meeting.